Let's go. If he can do it, so can you.
Hey, it's Noah. If you want to come to X Dubai Skate Park and skate with me, just go to platinumlist.net.
Noah, why are you taking my job, bro? That's my line. Come here, bro. This is probably the most iconic hotel in the UAE and possibly the world. Let's go check out the water park. It's been a pretty amazing day. Get your tickets, platinumlist.net.
Hi, I'm Lily.
And I'm Dan.
And we are The Load In. And today we've got one of my favorite guests, Mr. Brett Evans, the MD of Atlas Wealth Management. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you,
Brett.
guys.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah,
Welcome,
but-
Brett. Take that one
No,
out.
we were talking in future tense. Anyway.
I know, right?
He's also one of your people.
I know he's
Yeah.
one of my Aussie commanders.
so, our
For
first
once,
Aussie guest.
you're
I
outnumbered.
She wanted to outnumber you.
I
That's
needed to
course, of
outnumber. Every time I'm
course.
sitting there, I couldn't get the jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
get it.
I should have sat here like, what?
We'll just go off on a tangent.
Well, have you ever known me to be quiet? And some
No.
of them I'm like,
No.
got
I think
nothing to say.
the whole conversation will probably be abbreviated as well, because that's such an Australian
Let's
thing.
do a couple of acronyms.
Yeah,
exactly.
some lingo.
Yep.
Listen, before we start talking finance, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of how you ended up in finance and how you ended up in Dubai.
For me, I'm a bit of a career expat. Became an expat at 6 months of age. Moved to Tucson, Arizona. Father was in the Air Force. Lived there for 5 years. Moved back to Australia. Moved to Hong Kong through the sort of halcyon days of colonialism in the mid 80s, and
Yep.
then was there through the handover through to China, and then at that point, sort of the Asian financial crisis hit. So I thought
God,
Australia.
what year was that?
97.
Oh, wow.
So we thought best for me to go back to Australia and
Yeah.
sort of start a career in finance there. But as my sort of finance career developed, I still had a lot of friends, family, colleagues who were living in Hong Kong. And back in the old days, financial management, you could sort of do what you want. There was no overarching compliance because as soon as you jumped on a plane and left your home country didn't really know what you're doing.
Okay.
So,
It's a bit cowboy.
yeah, it is. And as time has gone by, those rules and regulations have increased. Their oversight from their borders has increased. And I was getting more and more questions from expats. And one day, I'll never forget, it was a month before the birth of my second daughter, I decided to sell my existing business and go purely into looking after Australian expats. And don't do that when you're about to have a
Yeah, I was going to
baby.
say,
Yeah,
timing.
probably worth timing.
My wife's got some pretty shocking stories to tell.
We'll have to get her in.
It's almost as bad as starting an event company just before
Just
COVID.
before COVID.
Yeah, I mean,
That wasn't a good idea.
she'll tell you stories about me actually driving her to the hospital with my suitcase in the bag as I go to the airport to fly off for work.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
She
So,
clearly loves you.
I was going to say,
Yes.
you're still married,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean-
still
Oh,
married.
wow.
it's that litmus test. My first car was a Holden Camaro in 1982. Lily would probably know what that is. She wasn't in it for the money, I can tell you right
Okay.
now. So it was true love. And she used to help me bail up the car when it was wet. So, yeah, she's a trooper.
There you
Nice.
go. Well, shout out to your wife.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Shout
and
out to your wife.
so and just as compliance has increased and got harder to deal with.
Well, it's crazy because, like, you know, I left Australia 10 years ago.
Yep.
And at that time, the advice you were given was really basic.
Yeah,
you know, there
it
was
is.
no advice because there was no following.
That's
As you
right.
said, once you're gone,
Yeah.
by the fact that I was going to London, so, you know, I knew that because I was paying tax there, I didn't have
Yeah.
to worry about paying tax
Double
at home.
taxation agreement, yeah.
I was okay.
Yep.
Like you left the UK when?
2008, 2007.
So you would have sort of been in the same, it was still all very sort of just starting, but UK had more of a hold on you.
Yeah, UK has quite a lot of regulations.
Well, they've got the
I think.
domicile test,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
where, you know, you can actually live outside the country, but you can still be
Yeah.
domiciled in the UK.
Indeed, yeah.
And Australia has that in a similar way too,
Yeah.
in terms of the resides and the domicile test. But
Okay.
the thing is, with a lot of these rules, you know, I'll use the Australian one as an example. The Australian tax residency test was built in 1936.
Okay.
Hasn't been changed
Change
since.
sense.
So
And the world's changed a lot since then.
it is, and you've got a whole generation of people where their careers did not exist back
Okay.
in 1936, let alone 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So when it comes to meeting certain tests, a freelance consultant who's working from a laptop
Anywhere around the
anywhere in
world.
the world, they essentially fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Super yacht crews, they don't
Yeah.
have any permanent place of residence
Of
except for the
course.
boat.
But then
Yeah,
that
which
means
is on the
that they-
sea.
yeah, but then that means they can get hardcore tax back
Yeah.
in Australia. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, and I think this is what's happening with a lot of people I know within the events industry because, you know, there's a large proportion of Australians in
Yeah,
particular that
yeah.
do like the ceremony circuit.
Yep.
So they'll do all the big gigs, but they're never resident in Australia. They're always resident in the country that's hosting the event.
Exactly.
And they bounce from country to country.
But if they don't have a resident, then they're considered to be Australian resident and therefore need to
You need to
face
prove
tax
otherwise.
and this,
Yeah.
that, and the other. So it's crazy.
I think I need more coffee to understand this.
We're jumping ahead.
We've
a little
gone
bit.
about
We're
5 steps
jumping
ahead.
But basically, what we can definitely see is Brent knows his stuff,
Yep.
and he definitely knows his stuff when it comes to expats.
My mum's going to be so proud that we're
So
having this
proud.
Doing the
conversation.
finance.
Oh, I'm going to get my
money.
brothers to listen to it because they think that I'm completely tone deaf when
Well,
it
she,
comes to
she
finance.
worked in government. She does all the
there
finances
you
for like
go.
local government and
Wow,
local
okay,
council.
yeah.
And it's like I went the complete opposite. I was like, yeah, be a clown, a fire breather,
Yeah.
a stilt walker. It's
And
like,
he
Talking about
really,
Excel spreadsheets now.
yeah, but
yeah, of
he
course.
actually was a fire breather.
That's awesome. I've always wanted to do that.
you should
Like
I'll
that
teach
was
you
in his
afterwards.
bio, and it's only recently I said, by the way, is that just a joke? And he's
Yeah.
like, no, man,
that's true.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
But then my mum was like, you need to get a proper job. So she'll be glad I'm having this conversation
Very
now.
much
Like,
so.
I'm,
Cirque du Soleil calls it proper jobs.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be. Maybe we'll come back.
They're coming back.
They are coming
They-
back.
they had financial sense. There's a
They-
reason
they-
why they did what
of
they
course.
did. But that sort of led you to Atlas Wealth Management. Now, you know, I understand it's a leading provider of financial services for Australian expats in particular. So I wanted to touch on what the business sort of does, but from there then sort of step out and take more of a macro level because a lot of our listeners obviously aren't all Australians,
Yep.
but I just wanted people to understand that you do know what you're talking about.
Look, I think the basic concepts are the same, whether you're Australian, American, English, Canadian, Irish, doesn't matter what nationality you are. To me, the biggest thing we've got right now is a worldwide movement by governments to almost, I wouldn't say control, but just have more oversight into what things are, you know, what's occurring. And
Yeah.
you've now got a scenario where years gone by, you could jump on a plane and all you were Googling was where you go to live, where the kids are going to school, and where the great bars and restaurants are. Now there's
Not
tax
necessarily in that
implications
order,
and how
right?
that changes with your assets.
Yeah.
And this is not just for Australians, this is for
Everyone.
worldwide. You know, you've got something called the Common Reporting Standard now, which is a global initiative between 146 countries and territories to share data.
Okay.
So when you open up an EMBD account and
Yeah.
they say you're English or you're Australian, they'll ask you for, in our case, a tax file number.
Yeah.
They will then record that, pass that on to the Central Bank of UAE, and they'll share that data back and
Okay.
forth between
So
the
that means you
ATO.
can't hide anything anymore.
So
Well, nobody used to be able to. That's
Yeah.
the reason why you
Used to.
moved to
That's-
tax havens or,
yeah.
Well, guess
you know,
what?
places with that.
one of the first
taxation.
people to sign up to the CRS was Panama, BVI, all those
Right.
places. The only
okay.
country that has not signed up to the
America?
America.
The US.
Yep.
US.
Really?
They say
and
you
yet
should
they're
do
the
it.
first ones to police everyone else.
That's
They've got their own
interesting.
version called FATCA, which is even worse because they're the only country, that and Eritrea are the only countries in the world that tax based on citizenship
Yeah.
rather than based on domicile.
Okay.
So yeah, look, the world's become a very small place for expats when it comes to managed money.
Very true.
So
Big time.
you know, and we always talk about when it comes to managing money, the best place is to hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
Don't play in the fringes because that is virtually putting a target on your back full
Yeah.
of
Like,
ATO,
it's sleepless nights as well,
HMRC.
isn't it?
It is.
It's sleepless nights.
Yeah.
But you know that's the thing. So understanding all of that, and then on top of that, this little thing called COVID happened.
What?
So yeah, what
was
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yeah.
No.
It's just this pandemic. I'll tell you about it later.
That's right.
But has the financial world just turned upside down?
Look,
Are we done for?
it's going to sound strange when I say this, but having the GFC in 08 was the best thing for preparing for the pandemic.
And we see GFOC, global financial crisis.
Yeah. So the total collapse of the financial
Meltdown.
system. Yeah.
Because that's where lots of regulations came from, and people then kind of thought we need to put some, I guess, like structure behind all of this.
What
And that's
if-
me using loose terms.
Yeah, look, for banks, it meant they have to hold more capital. So banks more resilient. We're stopping a Bear Stearns or Lehman Brothers happening again. For companies, they're running lower gearing levels. So companies' balance sheets aren't geared as high. So they should have a bit of spare change to get through these sort of times.
Yeah.
So we probably need to have translation during the podcast, right?
I'm going over there.
Because Brett says stuff.
For
and I'm
anybody not Australian.
well, not even anyone not financial. I'm like, yeah, I didn't understand that.
Yeah. So virtually what it means is companies are running more conservative balance sheets. They haven't
So
got
they're
as
not
much
giving
debt.
credit out as easily.
No, just in general company.
Yeah.
Like a property company. That
Event
owns
agency.
Yeah.
In the past, building up to the GFC, companies were running 50, 60, 70% debt on their balance sheet.
Yeah.
Now it's in a 30
Less.
to 40% pre-COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Gotta
what
be
it's
a
meant
lot more
was that,
conservative.
well, it just means you've got more lead in your pencil, I guess you could say, when it
Yeah.
comes to dealing with this sort of scenarios, because I think the biggest thing we see out of going through a COVID is cash flow.
Yeah.
100%.
It's
companies,
surviving
whether
it.
it's
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So,
Like that's basically with and you're the best person to talk about it. You're running your own agency and you've been lucky. Your cash flow's been there. It's made you go.
When you say bin, I mean it is. We're running on fumes.
Still going.
Like many people. I think the biggest thing is like granted, like from my parents' side of things, like they always told me like to save and to be very
At least
conscious
3
about
months.
money and
Exactly.
all the rest of it.
Yep.
And when I got into business, everyone said you need like at least like 3 months of capital
Yep.
to be able to get through a crisis. We're now like 6 months into this.
That's right.
So the reality is like whatever we planned for and whatever we put in place pre-COVID is kind of now redundant because this is such a different
It's even completely
experience.
different. Yeah,
So
but
we
the
just
fact
had to,
that you at least had that
Yeah.
has put
Yeah.
you in a better place.
yeah, and now it's all about survival, like you said,
Yeah.
and just trying to make sure that we have a business which is intact to be able to come out the other side of it.
But you know what it's going to do too, and to try and put a positive spin on COVID, it's going to bring good behaviours in business management going forward.
Yeah.
If you talk to your parents and grandparents who went through the war, the Great Depression, those sort of things, their ability to manage money did not change, even in the good times. They still had it socked away.
They kept
Well,
the
that's
money under the
interesting.
mattress.
Exactly.
They kept the
my
money under the
gran,
mattress.
Yeah.
There was always like a thing like with my gran when
Oh, your gran would
Money
pull
under-
up the
under mattress,
under the
exactly.
mattress.
we always said she was tight when
Yeah.
we were a
Right.
kid. Like she never like really hand
Because it's
out.
fresh
But
in
they,
mind.
but they understood
and
it.
she always kept stuff back.
Yeah.
Well, like for me and with our family, like
Yeah.
I was born in Iran. I was born into a war.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as our
Sanctions.
parents,
That's
had
all
to
they know.
pack up
Yeah.
life, and we went to a country. I lived in Korea.
Yep.
Like who gets up from Iran and goes to Korea? We were the only ones.
It's different, yeah.
Very different. But it was my parents always had backup.
Yeah.
Because they're like, if anything, like my parents won't even fly together.
Yeah.
In case something happened to one of them. It sounds morbid,
Yeah.
but it's
No,
like
no,
one
it's
of the
smart.
sweetest things.
I know a couple of families that do that.
So it makes sense what you're saying to that
does.
financially. People that have been through it, they won't forget.
You'll carry this, and
Oh,
it's,
for sure.
It's amazing. Even talking
vouch for
to younger expats who the GFC for them was something they read about. They
Yeah.
didn't really experience, and all they experienced was from 2011 to now prosperity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're trying to implore with them the importance of good fiscal management.
Yeah.
And they're going, yeah, we're fine. And now it's like, oh, now what you're talking about? I can see
In Australia, what was it? The recession in Australia, what did we call that one?
the
you
recession we
pre-
had to have, Paul Keating.
Long to
91.
91.
Yeah.
Because you've not had a recession for 30 years in Australia.
No,
apparently.
we've been very fortunate.
Yeah, like this is the first time you guys go into recession.
No, we've had a recession. Australia did have a recession years ago. In
We had one.
19
We had interest rates on home loans were at 17%.
It was
Yeah.
hardcore.
Yeah.
I look at my parents and I'm like, I don't know how you've gotten us through all of this.
Yeah.
So this, the recession in 2008.
It's still fresh in their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, lucky in the last crisis because we're commodity based,
Yes.
not credit based.
Yeah.
That made it a little bit better, or it was
Yeah.
a bit more delayed.
Look, I think it's sort of the averaging effect. On
Yeah.
average, we did well.
Yeah.
But if it's averages are dangerous.
Yeah.
If you put your head in the microwave and your feet in the oven, on average, your body's a good temperature. But I can guarantee it's not comfortable. So
a really good way
on
of
one side,
describing
you've
it.
got
True
the
story, right?
on one
sure I've
side,
tried
you've got the
that for
mining
a Friday
sector
night.
is killing it. On this
Yeah,
side,
true story.
and their high numbers average out across everyone else.
Yeah.
But there are, I mean, a good example is travel and tourism institute.
take up until about 2024 for the tourism industry to get anywhere near
Probably.
pre-COVID levels.
Well, on that topic, how is Dubai faring? How is the UAE faring in all of this?
Look, I think it's the UAE. I think we'll take a lot of lessons out of this, particularly Dubai. So I think you really have to cut it out, down the centre with Abu Dhabi versus Dubai, because completely different economies.
Yeah.
The UAE has 9% of the world's oil supplies, of which Abu Dhabi has 9. Dubai, they talk about the oil economy. It's not really oil.
No,
It's-
they've always had to diversify.
and it's been travel and tourism
Yeah.
and property. And
Yeah.
the whole thing joins together, get people flying in, buying property here,
Yeah.
and that's virtually what built Dubai for the
True
last
story.
20 years. But now, and there's an area back on the Gold Coast back in Australia called the Gold Coast, which
Yeah.
is very similar.
Very small.
Okay.
So when travel and tourism and property do well, it flies.
Yeah.
But when you see those wheels starting to fall off, they're not as diversified sector-wise.
Okay.
So to me, at the moment, you've got travel and tourism, obviously, and events, and any of those sort of inbound type
Gone.
of sectors,
Gone.
decimated.
Yeah.
But then you've got other areas like finance,
Yeah.
which is doing okay.
Is it?
It is.
It is.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like Dubai, just before this all happened.
I was going to say, because I'm not really into financial matters,
Well, we
clearly,
will be
being
now,
an
right?
entertainer. But, listening to some of the things, now's a good time to invest or to look at, I guess, opportunities.
it's
There's lots of
the-
movement. So
there's a
there is
thousand
stuff
adages
there.
about, what you buy when there's blood on the street and all those sort of things. And it's true. But I'll put a caveat on that. Just don't buy anything.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a
Yeah.
reason why something's at zero.
Yeah.
Because it's not working.
Yeah.
So to me, it's always about when you're investing, if I can't explain to a client in 30 seconds what the company does and why it's a good story, we
Yeah.
don't do it.
It's a good idea.
That has to be, and investing is simple. It's look out the window and see what's happening.
Yeah.
If you see a lot of trucks for a particular company moving around, you think, well, maybe they're doing well.
Yeah.
You should invest in them.
Yeah.
And it really is just looking out the window
Yeah.
and seeing what's working.
Just don't invest in the events industry
Yeah.
right now.
No.
Well, where
Soon.
Well, it could be- it could be,
Soon.
yeah,
It could be a good one soon.
Dan, you look out the window, you don't see it.
Yeah.
It will
You
come back
gotta
though, but it
see
will bounce
It will
back.
come. But I genuinely believe that the events industry is what will bring Dubai back.
Oh, for sure, because
gonna be
as
Because
you-
it's going to
so
bring people
strong.
in.
Yeah.
And it all
Well,
dovetails in together.
Yeah.
So I don't
It's a
think
big part of it.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of it. Tourism is great,
It's
but a
linked.
big part of tourism
It's like Vegas.
is what you can
Look at Vegas.
offer.
Yeah.
Vegas
Exactly.
is the same. The conventions
how much,
and all those sort of
yeah,
things.
how much can you do in a hotel?
Exactly. Yeah.
But then you come and you stay in a hotel, you go to DSS, to the
That's right.
shopping
all the
festival. and
additional.
exactly.
I
It's
can't
the
remember
bells
the
and
number
whistles.
on it, but there was something which was released kind of at the beginning of the lockdown that said, just from the trade centre alone, there's like an extra 13 billion dirhams worth
Wow.
of kind of other GDP contributions
Yeah.
that happen for all of the different elements that contribute to what
Yep.
happens at the trade centre. So your transportation companies, your taxis, your F&B, your
Oh, it's-
hotels,
it's-
like all of
it's
the
the 6
printing.
degrees of separation.
Like, it's a massive ecosystem.
But that's the thing. You're working in the finance side. You get a feel for all the vibe. You
Yeah.
do talk to people. I know officially, unofficially. But what's going on? What are you hearing?
Look, I think travel and tourism, people are doing it tough. To their credit, they're not leaving.
Yeah.
They're doing what it takes to stay here. So for those who've been put off completely, they're now looking at getting a rack license and
Wow.
freelancing, being consultants.
That's
Rather than
interesting.
operating under someone else.
Yeah.
Then they can set their own payment terms and all those
Yeah.
sort of things. There's a lot of that going on, even
Yeah.
with people in the airline industry, and now pivoting from
Yeah.
airlines to
Loads.
because obviously Emirates let go.
I was going to say, it's quite interesting. Actually, I've got a few friends that
estate.
I heard real estate is booming at the moment
yeah.
because there's so much movement now within that
bargains.
market. Yeah, because
It's
people are
bargains.
finding cheaper places, so there's
Yeah.
just like a ton of stuff happening. But it's interesting you mentioned Emirates. I've got friends like cabin crew. Obviously, quite a large proportion of them have been let go. The amount which have actually stayed and are looking at opening businesses
Yeah.
or looking at, like you said,
It's
pivoting
home.
or moving,
Yeah.
it's really interesting because previously, I think my
just think
perception
everyone's
of
gone.
what happened in 2008 was,
Yeah.
the stories of the mass
exodus.
exodus.
Cars at the airport.
Exactly, and
Yep.
although there is an element, I guess, of that happening here, there must be.
Yeah.
I don't really see it on the scale to
same.
what it was before. Yeah,
But it's different too because
But
the hooks
where
are
are they
there
gonna
as well.
go?
And also, that's
Do you know what I
it's
mean?
Where they're going to go.
You're going to go back to Australia. Well, Australia is going through exactly what we're going through,
if not worse in some
if
cases.
not worse.
But the banks are
it's
smarter
like-
this time too.
Yeah.
Where in the past you could get on an airplane and they couldn't get your money back.
Exactly. Well, now they can.
they've got agreements with countries
Yeah.
where they can
Yeah,
chase
but
the
they can't
debts.
come into your country to get
Yes, they
you.
can.
Yeah,
They
but
can.
Apparently, they give the debt or the finance to a reciprocal,
that's right.
bank within
Yeah.
the UK, for example,
There was
and
a
then
deal
that will
that-
chase you.
There was a deal that the UAE did, was it late last year, early this year with India?
Yeah.
Right.
Dubai court orders are enforceable in Indian courts.
Oh wow.
Are they
that reason.
enforceable in Australia?
I
Are you thinking of running
tested it,
away?
hang on. We're still here.
I gotta ask it for all the Australians
I'm
listening
asking
in.
for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend.
But no, it's,
No, but it's a good thing for people to know because
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people that are in a tough place.
Yeah.
And like it or not, some people, that's where they'll end up at, where they think that that's
Yeah.
all that they've got
Yeah.
left. And it's good for them to know that you're not going to get away.
Well, and I think also too, it's a different, almost like 2008 was a bit of a purge of the sort of the blow-ins.
Yeah.
So those who survived after are the stayers.
Yeah.
And take Emirates, for example, we're talking to a lot of aircrew.
Yeah.
They've been here for 15 years.
Yeah.
Their kids were born here. They
Yeah.
own property here. This is home.
Yeah. So they need to stay.
The kids don't want to leave.
No.
So they're doing what they can to try and buy time
Yeah.
until Emirates needs them, which could be 2022, 2020, 24.
Yeah.
They don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of you can sort of get yourself twisted, or you
Yeah.
can just go one foot instead of the next. Okay, what can we do? And then we've sort of been helping them, sort of just giving them a bit of a roadmap in terms of, okay, reach out to the schools, try and get your school fees
Yeah.
reduced, talk to your landlord.
So you're real busy right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Real
a lot of
busy.
hand holding, a lot of counselling.
But it
Oh, it's
sounds
good
like
to
you're
know.
doing more than just giving financial advice. You're actually giving
It's like lifestyle advice.
lifestyle
Yeah.
advice as well.
Life is finance. People don't
It's
realise
true,
it. I
actually.
mean, finance is boring. It's
Everything.
number
Yeah.
50 on the exciting list. Trust me, we get it. But
Yeah.
But some people do like it.
I've got
Some
a-
people-
yeah,
I've
look,
got
man,
a-
I'm a bit of a data nerd.
Listen, since and I've got to give this plug. I've always avoided finance. Like my parents always taught me, make sure you can save money. So I always save money.
but yeah,
But what to do with that money, I always go, what do
Spend
we
it.
call it?
Analysis
I'm
paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. Because like over the years, I've had so many, you know, the big loud ties from, I don't want to say places, different
the three-piece
companies.
suits, yeah.
That 3-piece suits, guys half
The
my
cold
age,
calling.
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
knocking on my door saying, give me your money, I'm going to invest it for you, I know what to do. And I'm like, how old are you? And then all of them give you the same sort of packaged
Script.
same
Yep.
script, and
Yeah.
they come in with that booklet that says how much you make, and basically want to prove to me that if I don't make X amount of money by the time I'm 60, I'm going to be homeless. And I've always surprised them because once they do the math and look at how much I pay, they go, oh, actually, you might be all right.
You're right.
I'm like, so you know that
Yeah.
doesn't
We're good.
work.
Yeah.
But I never proceeded with them. It's something I've always wanted to get into investment because, you know, you want to be able to retire. I don't want to work for the rest of my life.
you want to go to bed and your money's working.
Yeah, but until I met you, and I've got to say it, until I met you, I was not going near any of these financial
Yeah.
guys or institutions because I didn't feel, I'm like, you want to take my money, but all I'm hearing is sales.
But they're not really career
No.
advisors.
Well, I was
No.
gonna say, and that's the
They're
thing.
selling.
Like, here
But that's
in
what
particular,
you had a lot of.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I've got a lot of friends that have gone proceeded with that. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, it's great. You know, I get my portfolio and it's got, I go, do you have any idea how much he's charged that you
Yeah.
can't see?
4 to 6% per annum.
Wow.
And you know, so I've learned a lot just sitting with Brett, which is why I really wanted him to
can
come
tell.
in. Yeah, no, I sound like I know
sound
my
really
stuff, right?
intelligent.
But that's why actually one of the biggest things that we're
Thanks.
about is raising financial literacy.
Yeah.
If you
But you
do that,
simplify it.
yeah, but you need to educate first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you simplify it. So, and you also, you don't make the person listening feel any less for not understanding.
Well, you don't come
So-
out of the womb and know how to manage your
Yeah, I
money.
know, but you credit to you. I've sat across from a lot. And the thing was like, I've got you know, we know each other well enough. They know, like, if I don't get something, I'm like, yeah, don't get it.
Yeah.
You keep, and then if they can't explain it, I'll keep saying, I go, yeah, still don't get it.
Yeah.
I go, I'm going to ask a stupid question, layman's term. Keep simplifying. Nope,
Yeah.
nope. Financial brain is the little p. Keep working
Yeah.
on it. And other ones just sort of look at you going, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I go, no, it's my
You'll
money.
never see them again.
Yeah, and
We,
and
well, we
you know,
want,
but with
we
you,
want
it's
to
been
take
different.
clients from here
Yeah.
at the low level to here. So when then we can have really cool conversation with it's quite technical.
Yeah.
But you can't do on to walking. You got to crawl first. You got to, you got to build your way up. And the only way you do that is by learning in a way that is conducive with how your brain works.
Yeah.
So I have a client, and she's a lawyer, and he's in creative marketing. I actually had separate meetings with them.
Yeah.
gotta
Because
speak
two
to them
different people.
differently.
It is. We've
Different
got someone,
language.
Different
someone who's
brains.
binary ones and zeros,
Yeah.
and someone who's very creative.
Yeah.
So
All
I'll
over the
explain
place.
same.
Sort of like me and you, right?
Yeah, I'm like all over here.
Yeah, and what we'll do is we're very lucky that we have a lot of people in a lot of different careers.
Yeah.
So I do learn about different sectors. So what I'll
Nice.
do is I'll draw upon their sector to
Yeah.
provide an example. You know, I'll explain something and you get blank eyes.
Yeah.
And say, okay, you know when you do this in your job? I go, yeah. It's like, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. I get the light bulb moment.
Light bulb
Yeah.
moment.
So you know when you're
Nice.
breathing fire, that's when you know you gotta, you know, if that
Yeah.
connected. I'd like
Yeah,
to see
we'll figure
that.
out- we'll figure that one out.
Yeah, there's a good one there.
The role, I think, is to get you saying acronyms to your mum. That will
Yeah.
be good. Yeah.
I will do. You should
Yeah.
be
Write
like,
a few
"What?"
down for me. Oh, well, that's the thing though. Like, so a lot of our listeners out there are SMEs. They're freelancers. So they are people that probably are people that you're dealing with big
Yeah.
time at the moment.
Yep.
Sort of, what advice would you have for them? You know, like we said, you know, like jokes aside, Dan's like, you know, good time to buy property. You know, what sort of advice are you giving people when it comes to property, when it comes to investments, gold? I don't know, like that
I
sort
think
of stuff. What are
you,
people?
You can't plan unless you have a bit of certainty. So the first thing we're saying is build up cash reserves. Don't worry about buying shares. Don't worry about buying property. Buy nothing. Build up 3 to 6, preferably 9 months worth of cash.
Just choke then on
Yeah,
the
you
water.
like 3, 6, no, no, no. You want me to have how much? 3, 6, 9 months of capital?
I had to get in there in case people think it's COVID. I was like, look, the water.
Yeah, exactly. I just put the mask on.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
it's something that, you know, I think the most important thing is you build a nest egg. And you should be able to lose your job tomorrow and
still
be
be okay.
be able to survive for the next 3 to 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
But once you've got to that point, then you've got a bit of buffer, then you can start to go out. But I think because COVID is, you know, an unending piece of string, we don't know how long it's going to go for. You can't really, unless you're certain in your job, you're comfortable, your income's safe, to me, you can't really plan off uncertainty.
But at the same time, this is a time to.
Look, it is, and that's why I say for
a
those
bit
who are
chicken
in
and
a
egg,
sole
right?
position, great. But if we're talking to, like I'm talking to my SME and freelance clients, I'm just hoarding cash
Yeah.
because their cash flows are all over the place. They might get a great invoice in this month,
Yeah.
but may not get in for the next 2. So what we're trying to do is build up their cash flows to get them riding through. And I always said, Mr. Murphy raises his head. When you have plenty of cash, invoices keep coming in. It's when you don't have any cash,
Yeah.
invoices don't come in. And therefore, you got to really have that. And we always talk about mental psychology of managing money. It's almost impossible to manage money when you're stressed about money. You know, if you look-
100%.
if you and you cannot see the wood from the trees. You
Yeah.
cannot make a straight decision when you can't afford rent.
Yeah.
You are just so panicked.
And I always feel you get into that kind of like vortex of negativity.
You do.
You do it like a
It's
rabbit
despair.
hole, and you
It's
just like,
despair.
and you never
It's
feel
doom
like
and
you can get
gloom.
out.
It's the number one
becomes doom
breakup
and
of
gloom.
marriages. Money.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's huge.
100%.
I think it's like
Thank God I'm single.
it might be 40 or 50%. You know, it's
and me
massive.
both.
So, and that's I think the hardest thing is if both you're on the same page, a marriage or a partnership can
Yeah.
get you through it together.
Yeah.
But if usually it's the guy trying to be the provider, not
Yeah.
providing, a lot of problems happen. And sometimes we become
And it
marriage
weighs,
counsellors.
it weighs up,
Yeah, I
but
can
it
imagine
weighs
it
up,
does.
weighs down
No.
on them.
Well, he might be too embarrassed to tell his wife,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they'll dump it on me,
Yeah.
which I'm cool with. And that's the biggest thing I think getting through this right now is people just need to take stock of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Don't try. I think people are always compelled, we call it FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You know, when the markets fall, you got to get back in, got to get back
Yeah.
in. When you're getting stock tips from the taxi driver, the Uber driver, you know, Deliveroo driver.
Well, I was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I was there. I was like,
Yeah.
Brett, money,
Yeah.
invest. And he's like, oi,
Slow
hold on a
down.
second.
Call your jets.
Call
Yeah.
your jets.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put the money aside. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, now? And he's like, no, the market's in flux. We'll let you know when we're
Yeah.
going to press go. Just wait.
Yeah.
I mean, we are going through the largest economic event since World War II, just to put it in perspective.
It's crazy.
It
Gold's
is huge.
going
really
mad
is.
though. I wish I got in on the gold.
Yeah, gold's a funny one where, so the problem we've got these days when managing money, and I know we are going on a tangent, but I think this is
No,
important to say,
tangent away.
it is so easy to invest.
Yeah.
It is pick up your phone, download an app, and off you go. So, and quite often you will do what someone else is doing beside you because you'll hear their story. Oh, I made 10% today. And there's, you know, was it Robinhood, which is a algorithm program, investing program in the US. You've virtually put in $10,000 and they'll just go and invest for you. Their client numbers are up 2,500% from March.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of mum and dads from Idaho putting in money.
Yeah.
But the big question is, what are the Warren Buffetts, the Carl Icahns of the world
What are they doing?
George
Yeah.
Soros's, and they're only moving slowly.
Yeah.
Because they know the gravity of what we're going through right now. You've got this tug of war happening between, on one side, you've got the central banks of the world, the Feds in the US, the RBA in Australia, HMRC in the UK,
Yeah.
you know, flooding the market with
Yeah,
stimulus,
pumping
with
it.
cash. But it's not flowing through. That's our concern right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not getting to the tills.
Yeah.
CNBC put out an article last month saying that US consumers are hoarding 33% of their disposable income.
Yeah. Something similar in the UK right now.
Yeah.
Because they're all on the furlough schemes and all
Yeah.
these, like, you know, different, I guess, like benefits or bounce back loans or whatever. And a lot of people are hoarding it.
But like we're
They're
saying
not
before,
actually
they're
spending.
trying to build up their cash reserves because
you
they've been
wanna
able to get
survive
through the
longer.
good. Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
we are survivors by nature of
Yeah.
human beings. So we know when there's a winter coming, you hoard your nuts.
Yeah.
You know, same sort of thing. We know there's a big thing happening right now.
Yeah.
You just want to scale down on the cash.
It's interesting.
Well, it's because you don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
But
if
the
you,
problem
if you could
is-
see the end.
Well, the problem is when you wake up in the morning, you see S&P or the NASDAQ is a great example, record highs. People are going, what? You know, we're going through this and that's going on. Even the S&P 500 is only down about 7% from the February highs before this all kicked off. But if you look at the numbers, and I'd love to show this on a chart.
We'll
Big
get you
data
back.
bank.
Don't you worry, we'll get you back.
If you strip out the top 5 from the S&P 500, I'm talking Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Alphabet.
So all the people which had to go to Congress the other day.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah,
Pretty
the crew.
much.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. By remote, of course. Yeah,
Remote,
it's
of
all by
course.
Skype.
Zoom in.
If you take out the numbers, their numbers, the S&P 500 is up like about 10% for the last
Okay.
5 years.
Why?
It's because everyone's. It's what's the best way to describe it? When you're investing, there's themes and thematics that people go by, and it can be people going to buy SUVs instead of two-door cars. Same
Yeah.
sort of thing. People always gravitate towards what's the latest and the greatest.
Yeah.
Obviously, right now, everyone's using Microsoft Teams, everyone's using Zoom. You know, so
Yeah.
all the IT companies are doing very well. They
Yeah.
haven't actually suffered at all through this. But then you look at McDonald's when they released their results last week, down 30%.
Wow.
So less cheeseburgers. But
Yeah.
you know, people will switch, and then it'll get to some point when McDonald's is so cheap, then they'll start to come back into that.
Yeah.
The problem is investing now is so easy. People are now almost gambling instead of investing.
Okay.
And
They're trying to make a quick buck, aren't they?
yeah, well, I mean, any time a US company went into Chapter 11, all these mum and dad investors were flooding it because they knew that as soon as a bit of stimulus was announced, that you
They'll
know,
get some.
and they're making 500% returns in 2 weeks off Hertz or American Airlines, all these things. There's pictures on Instagram of guys buying Lamborghinis from these bets. They're making
What?
financial bets, but they're putting it's leverage bets.
Yeah.
And
Can we do some leverage bets for me?
Well, like a
it's not
Separate-
sustainable.
Porsche.
It's not sustainable. Trust me.
Separate
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah,
on
but
this one.
nice and quick. We'll
Yeah.
take this offline.
I know.
Nice and quick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Look, it's one of those things where you don't know whether it's the right or wrong thing until after the fact.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to paper bet, but it's another thing to put real money
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And when you put real money in, then you know, because people tend to overanalyze and overwatch these things, they'll go through and go, oh, well, and psychology, they'll be, actually, was it ASIC, the Australian Securities Investment Commission, was so concerned by the number of retail mum and dad investors, they commissioned a report in May it was, and what they were talking about was that when you look at the numbers, they were concerned about the mum and dad investors actually had a very poor track record of being able to invest.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes emotion gets the better of you.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously that's why people use
Everyone wants that
professionals.
Lamborghini.
Like, especially right now.
Yeah. People use
Just like to pay the
You're
rent,
like,
please.
you're like let me just roll the dice.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
just play roulette. Maybe
we-
I'll get the money to pay for the rent for the cover my mortgage for the
Happy
next
days.
year.
But
Happy days and
we
not have to
call it
worry.
racetrack money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
If you're doing that, do it no different to as if you're watching a horse race.
Yeah.
And just know that
Money
it's
to burn.
gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But you want to have a pretty good buffer before you,
Yeah.
winning that down the track anyway.
Yeah. It won't pay your mortgage. It's actually going to take your mortgage.
Exactly.
Wrong way.
Oh, it's very sobering sometimes
Yeah.
because you see it go the wrong way.
Yeah,
More
I
often than
imagine.
not, you only hear about the good stories.
True story. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. But like that said, the financial landscape, do you think this is just going to go on for a little while more where people are going to sort of gamble and sort of use the COVID, or how do you see the
It's gonna-
landscape over the coming months?
When you've got participants in the market, so you've got your big institutional investors, then you've got your more dynamic hedge fund, arbitrage type investors, then you've got your mum and dad investors,
Yeah.
retail investors. At the moment, the bulk of the people who have been investing since the March drop has been retail investors, and also to those investors who went short of stock.
Yeah.
So they bought it, they sold it before they bought it. As the markets bounce back up, they want to close out their short, so they're buying back that position to close
Okay.
that out. So we're not really talking about good, solid, sticky money making long-term bets. We're talking very short-term money sloshing
Yeah.
back and forth. I guarantee half of those mum and dad investors invested in March, April, if the wheels fell off tomorrow, they would be out.
Yeah.
Whereas you want to see institutional money coming in.
Yeah.
And at the moment, if you look at all the numbers, institutions are sitting on the side.
So right now there's a lot of horse betting going on,
It's tug of war.
which isn't necessarily a bad thing because people are making money.
Yeah, look, if you look from May through to July, the market's actually gone sideways.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that,
Yeah.
but it's actually gone sideways. It's range bound like this.
Oh, wow.
And the longer we go through this, so the way the market works is it wants to price in the risk. It wants to price in an event. Now, if a company's earnings fall by 20%, therefore the stock should fall by 20%.
Yeah.
We're only just starting to get the economic data now of what's occurred March and April. So now we're going to start to see over the next 3 months a proper understanding of what has COVID cost the world
Yeah.
when it comes to the financial ramifications.
Vast.
Yeah. So do you think that's gonna impact expat behavior? Or have you seen expat behavior being impacted? Well, obviously it's been impacted, but
Yeah. Look, I think people are wary, but by virtue of being an expat, you tend to have a higher risk tolerance.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we're
all
still
our,
here.
all our clients are expats. So
Still spending.
Yeah,
ra-
still
rather
spending.
than, I'm sure if you're an 80-year-old, you'd be more concerned than, say, a 30 or 40-year-old with a job.
well, that's the work.
So from that, our client base tends to be, I think our average client age is 46.5.
Yeah.
So they're more risk, their risk appetite is higher, they're
Yeah.
not risk adverse. So they're saying, we want to do this, just tell us when.
Okay.
As opposed to the waters turn red and the four horsemen apocalypse come around the corner
Yeah.
tomorrow. Well, I think we all know that going through this, we will come out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
We have to.
this is like a book. You know,
Yeah.
beginning, middle, and
It's
end.
another chapter.
Yeah, and to me, the panacea for this whole thing is going to be a vaccine.
Yeah.
Because the vaccine will bring in finality. They'll know
Yeah.
when we can draw this
And
to a
people can
close.
start planning again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the quicker that happens,
But there's been movement in that.
oh,
Who was it?
Yeah,
So
everyone.
in the last week,
Yeah,
massively.
I saw something. I can't.
University of Queensland. They're one of the,
Really?
they've just gone through second stage trials.
I think
Wow.
Russia has just announced that they're going to start actually administering
Administering.
their
Yeah.
vaccine, which I'm not too sure about.
Yeah,
but-
but they
I'm
might have
sorry,
rushed
but
things a bit
how,
there.
Yeah.
how have we gotten to a point where within months of a pandemic we've got a potential vaccine? Like normally
Because
they
this
say it
is the
takes up
biggest.
to 2 years.
This would be the biggest deployment of biochemistry assets ever.
This is vast.
Yeah.
Huge.
And also, I guess, like the financial returns
For whoever gets
those
there
companies
first.
which get there quickest.
You just think about just the kudos you get.
Of course.
They will be able to trumpet this for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Should we be buying shares in Queensland?
Well, you can't buy University of Queensland, but the thing is, if it's a Pfizer, it's a Roche, whoever
Yeah.
it is, they will be able to lord this over everyone for a
Yeah.
long time. But that's why it's almost like an arms race in
It's an arms race.
chemistry.
It's the best
Yeah.
way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, the race to the moon or whatever,
Yeah, it
or the
is.
space race.
Yeah. Look, I was talking to
It's
a friend the other
incredible.
day
Craziness.
in Washington DC doing clinical trials, and she's
Yeah.
working with 10 companies on just her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trying to get something through. So it is. You almost have to bet on 100 to get one right.
Yeah.
And when that
And that
then-
one is going to be made for life.
well, but then you need to make sure you make enough of a gain in that one to pay for the other 99 that
true.
fall over
True,
because
you gotta
all their
cover-
eggs
you
in one
gotta-
basket.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
cover your cost.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, but it could be you could take a leaf out of Levi Strauss. When the gold boom happened, everyone was picking up shovels. He thought, you know what, I'm going to make
Make
money. I'm
jeans.
going to make jeans for the gold miners.
Smart man.
He's going to have money. Not everyone strikes it rich. So
Yeah.
if you look at the peripheral area,
I never knew that story.
We got to start planning.
No, we are, but pivot.
Yeah. we're-
but you just got to look at the peripheral area. Like there's the flow-on effect, like you were saying before about the events industry
Yeah.
and all the ancillary services that go with that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the health sector. So if you do have a vaccine, what's the deployment going to be like? So do you want to invest in medical centres?
Yeah.
Or do you want to invest in
a
syringes?
really cool event that
Yeah.
you could get your vaccine at the event.
There you go.
Anyway,
I like that.
I'm just thinking, I'm like,
So when we have our next chat,
Yeah.
we'll look at the portfolio.
We're looking at a lot of things.
interesting.
Yeah, look, to me, it's how we're invested personally. We're in pathology because everyone's getting blood tests.
Yeah.
We're invested in another one's blood plasma.
Okay.
They're trying to make inroads into the vaccines as well too.
Yeah.
With CSL. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it. You don't have to play it straight on.
Yeah.
You can actually play around the fringes.
Wow.
But then you can also look at things like consumer staples.
Yeah.
Groceries. How many?
Yeah.
True.
Toilet
If,
paper.
if anything, and that was
Cans.
my older brother runs his own law firm, and he
Yeah.
just laughs. He goes, "Right, never did." He goes, "I run a law firm. I'm looking at the dole queue while my mate, who's a plumber,
Yeah.
is killing it."
Yep.
It's like my dad always said.
But he'll be
pick a
hurting
trade.
now because now the trade with Victoria going to stage 4.
True.
Now, but
no one can get out.
The one who is almost a recession-proof job is a shelf stacker at a
Groceries.
Yeah,
supermarket.
so it's interesting actually because when I was a
Not even-
kid,
Yeah.
I always remember
The
my
shelf
mum
stacking.
said, she was like, you don't want to end up stacking shelves in Tesco.
You're like, are you
That's
sure, Mum?
probably the only job right now
Well, it
which
was
has
one
got
of the
like
best paying
opportunity for
jobs
growth.
in Oz when I was at uni.
Yeah, it
like
was.
if you did night shift, you got paid.
I applied for it, but I got told I was too ambitious and they thought I wouldn't stick around. So I'm like, okay, that's probably
They-
true.
they
Right?
did
Yeah,
know
that's
you
right.
were
They
back
did.
now.
They saw it through me. But it's amazing when you talk to people who are stacking shelves right now. We do know a number of clients who
Yeah.
do it, not because they need the money, but because they need to apply themselves to do something. And there was
Yeah.
jobs there. And in one group, there was a dentist, a lawyer. It sounds like a bar joke, doesn't it?
Wow.
A dentist, a lawyer, a radiologist, and someone else in this
Wow.
this group of 4 who were in their team.
Wow.
Who would have thought any of them would be out of a job?
Yeah.
We've got a client
And
who's an
stacking shelves.
anesthesiologist. His income's down 90% because
Yeah.
there's no elective surgeries.
Yeah, because you can't. Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
It is, to me, the COVID pandemic has come in sideways
Yeah.
in a way that no one could imagine. And there's those who have the good fortune of being in an industry that happen to either
Boom.
benefit or didn't really change
Yeah.
anything. And then there's those who've just been absolutely,
Sideswiped.
yeah,
Sideswiped,
Yeah.
blindsided, screwed.
yeah.
But, it
Yeah.
will get,
But as you said, we're kind of,
but it will get better.
but it will get. But
the
as you
good
said,
thing-
we will come back from
The
this.
good thing about events is that whole thing's not going to go away.
No.
But there are going to be sectors and jobs and careers
Yeah.
that may have gone forever because
Yeah,
of
this is true.
So, and I think those people in those jobs probably realise that now and are looking at,
Yeah.
doing other things. And I think what you're going to see is an uptick in people going back to university
Mm.
or doing all these sort of different things where they can make
Diversify.
Apply themselves again.
or retrain.
Or transferring skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at how many SMEs have a bricks and mortar business.
Yeah.
If they didn't pivot to delivery and online,
Yeah.
that would have been gone.
True story.
So
yeah.
it's sort of everyone's talked about, it'd be great to be online, it'd be great to do this and that. But this has almost brought that forward at a rate.
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses that were
Yeah.
thinking about getting an online aspect
Yeah.
to their business
Yep.
have had to just bite the bullet and invest in that now.
Exactly.
And I bet a lot of them would be sitting there going, "God, I wish I did it sooner."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
You know.
But here they are now. So there
Yeah.
are positives you can take away from COVID. Good spending habits, improved business practices, and also sometimes trimming the fat.
Yeah.
True.
Businesses grow organically, and sometimes you don't know why people
Yeah.
are doing what. You
Well,
just,
especially here, because I always feel it's like the land of opportunity. You're always thinking like, oh, we're going to get bigger and there's more opportunity and we need more
Yeah.
people. And then, sometimes you just have to reevaluate and look
Yep.
to trim the fat, become
Yeah.
a bit more financially conscious.
But at the same time, and one of it's been really interesting with us with the podcast and the people we brought in. There has been a lot of collective work happening.
Yeah.
Where you're talking about how new systems, new sort of processes. Like you got the Creative Collective, the
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
coming out of this that are positive. We've got the industry ILEA is now
Yeah.
stepping up,
The
coming out
business
there, and
associations all
business
working together.
associations all working together. It's really changed it, and people going, we need to have better systems, we need to have better means.
but
So
the systems are so cheap now too.
Yeah.
And I think what people are seeing is mentally they were ring fencing their market, geographically speaking.
Yeah.
But now there's no reason why a freelancer or a creative in Dubai can't be selling their services online to someone in Brazil
Somewhere else.
or the
Yeah.
United States. You just got to think of that scope.
It's interesting, actually. There's a couple of DJs, a couple of performers in Dubai that then started selling PPE.
Yep.
And they were selling it like to different countries. I was like, what?
You just got to do what you
Well, they're
can, right?
hustling,
You've got to do what you can.
It was interesting.
And I think some people take umbrage from that, other people take a
Yeah.
joke from that. But
Yeah.
I think it's the human nature is pretty tough.
Yeah.
We'll get
Survival.
through this. Yeah.
But I'm guessing for Atlas, you won't be starting to sell PPE. You guys are doing quite well, and it's
No, for us, it's
booming.
been a bit of a perfect storm. We've
Yeah.
had massive tax regulation change in Australia, end of financial year. And one thing, and once again, another positive come out from COVID, is for once in some people's careers, they've actually had time to sit down and work on their
Yeah.
finances.
100%.
They've actually sat down and gone, I'm going to open my bank statement. Oh my God, look at the fees and charges. Like, they're actually
Yeah.
doing this, and stuff that we've been preaching for the last 10 years.
Well, we've done that as a business. We've gone literally through every single line item
Yeah.
and gone
Exactly,
like, do we
yeah.
actually need to spend this?
Bingo. And I think that's important
taking
because
stock.
coming out of here, people and businesses will be leaner and meaner.
Yeah.
But also too, they're finally giving their finances because managing your finances is not hard. It's just like sort of cleaning the backyard first.
Yeah.
It's
once
the
you
last
mow
thing
it,
anyone wants to
it's
do.
boring. As I said, it's priority number 50 on everything.
I don't know that it's boring as much as it's a little bit like the ostrich. You put your head in because it's
Yeah.
a pretty big
you're not
topic.
the- I
Because
think
like
it is
if you haven't done your finances well, you have to deal with the fact that you might be
Yeah.
oh God, how am I going to retire, or I'm going to be working till I'm 100.
For me, I just don't find it creative. When I look at an Excel, it's
Oh
like,
no, it's
oh.
really creative.
no,
Yeah.
Oh.
but
you
it's
can
like-
you can make it creative though.
Yeah.
So my finance team, literally, whenever they present anything to me,
They're
it's
so
like
excited.
colourful graphs. there's
Exactly,
like
that's right,
bar
yeah.
charts,
Keep
like-
your attention.
Yeah, of course.
Look
I'm
at the
like,
pretty
okay, I like
colours,
that.
Dan.
It's
Look at
like,
the pretty
This is
colours.
the important bit. Like,
When we do an
oh,
advice document, it's 70 pages,
Yeah.
but there's an executive summary that goes for 2,
Yeah.
and that's what people read. They don't read the 68 other pages.
Yeah.
And to me, it's little things done often and well give you the best results.
Yeah.
Our wealthiest clients aren't our highest earning clients. I've got clients who need $500,000 a year, and that's just because that's their expenses. They don't
Yeah.
need it, but
Wow.
they need it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Where where I've got other clients who have more money because they're on probably half the amount the other people are on,
Yeah.
but they're not spending as much. And it's not because, and the best thing I can liken it to is when I got my first mortgage. You see that statement and you think, how the hell am I going to afford that?
Oh, I died.
Yeah. But guess what?
You do.
You do. And then
Yeah.
your lifestyle doesn't change. Nothing changes.
Yeah, I know, but
next
it's a
thing you know,
noose around your neck. I just want to get rid of it.
it is. It is a noose around your neck, but I think also too, we're indoctrinated to pay down debt. That's another issue.
Yeah.
But to me, you don't realise how much money you are, part of the French, pissing up against the wall until
Until you sit and
you actually go
look.
through. Most people
Yeah.
would rather talk about brunches on Friday
Yeah.
than go through and talk about saving
Yeah.
money. But it's the little things where the bucket theory is the best one. Set up 4 bank accounts. One bank account is your expenses.
Yeah.
One bank account is a bit of play money for you. Another bank account is savings. Another bank account is travel.
It's a good point.
Don't do anything for 12 months. Just a cup of concrete, suck it up, princess. But what's going to happen at the end of that 12 months
Love that.
is you'll actually have cash there to book a holiday.
Yeah.
You'll actually have savings there to invest.
Yeah.
You'll actually have money there. You will never have to worry about paying a bill
Yeah.
because it's already provisioned.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when running a business. Businesses very rarely will have fluctuations in their expenses.
Yeah.
Most SMEs, their biggest cost is probably staff.
Staffing.
Yeah,
overheads,
overhead.
But so you can map out for the next 3 months what
Yeah.
your employment costs will be. You know what your
Yeah.
rent's going to be. All those sort of things. All you need to do is then break that down into a monthly figure and make sure you got that money put aside.
Yeah.
So if you do get a good contract comes through today and they're paid quickly,
Yeah.
just go, okay, great. I'm going to amortize that over 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm surviving for 3 months, and then I will go out and get more business, and that's got to put food in my belly.
Yeah.
But at least the business is going as
Yeah.
well. So whether it's an SME, whether it's freelance, whether it's a salaried employee,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
It's
just
there, the
provisioning.
concept's there.
It's just buckets.
And
Just,
that's I think where we're at right now.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, listen, I think we're once people listen to this podcast, we're going to have so many people asking how to get in touch because they might need a bit of hand holding. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, look, I mean, we, as you said, we sort of specialise in Australian expats, but we do have a network of people who do look after a lot of other nationalities. And like a lot of careers, you tend to hang with the good people.
Yeah.
So we don't talk to the people you're talking before about the
No, thank God.
the bad ones.
salespeople.
Yeah, exactly.
The loud
yeah.
ties.
And
Cold
look, you know,
calling.
I think if people go to our website, atlaswealth.com, we do a plethora of articles on there.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all Australian expat reference, but the principles with most of them you can
It's the
apply to
same,
most.
transferable.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
It's just the little things. I mean, finance should not be smoke and mirrors. It should be demystified and something simple.
Yeah.
Make it simple. People understand it, and then they want to get into it. Whereas people don't want to feel like they're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And that's where people are so embarrassed about
And
talking
it's
about
also
their finances.
scary. It's scary.
It is.
Money,
Well, it's-
having or not having money is a scary feeling for a lot
Yeah.
of people.
But it's not only not having or having money. It's scary having the reality pointed out to you.
Yeah.
When people say,
True.
I'm going to have this at, this age. And unfortunately you go, yeah, not even close.
Not even
Well,
close.
And they go,
I
wow.
definitely don't have that now at 39.
So, but it's little things done now. The earlier you start, I mean, in a practical world, you start at 20.
Yeah.
Like everyone's having, in their 20s, people are having too much fun.
Yeah.
But if you start in 30s, even 40s, it's
Yeah.
the ones that worry us when you're a 55-year-old guy who has nothing to your life,
Yeah.
to your name, who approach us and say, I'm going to retire in 10 years.
And you're like-
and you tell them you have to save 25,000 Australian dollars a month.
That's why I'm kind of like a little bit scared right now because I was quite sensible. I was always told to start saving.
You've
So
always- yeah,
I
no,
was
you've
saving
always
from
been
like
really
the
good
early 20s, well, maybe like 22, 23, and unfortunately, we've got to a position now with COVID where it's like I've had to really dip into that just to survive and just keep my business
But
alive.
thank God you did it.
Well, yeah, because otherwise I'd been
Yeah.
like screwed right
I think
now.
the rule book's
but
been
also
been
remember
thrown
though,
out.
you've also done something great. Not only have you been smart enough to have some sort of savings and do that since you were 20, but you also stepped up and started your own business, which takes guts,
Yeah.
especially in a country
It-
that's not even your home. Yeah,
It is the
but,
1% of the world.
Yeah, and
Business
and,
owners, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm there. I know you drive into work
Mm.
and you have a whole range of thoughts that employees never have.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay the bills?
True story, especially the last
We-
few
we-
months.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
we've
so,
been chatting about it.
Hang your head up high.
Yeah.
People will wear COVID pandemic with stripes, like wear with pride.
Yeah.
Because
I think they will eventually.
I think
at
if you
some
can get
point.
through this, and I think most people can. There's some exceptions where it's
Yeah.
been obliterated, but
Yeah.
I think people, if they really sit back and think hard, they can
Yeah.
find.
We'll navigate. We'll get
Yeah.
there eventually.
Yeah.
And I think, it's like I keep looking at it and thinking, oh, well, I've lost everything, kind of.
Yeah.
But the reality is actually we haven't, because at some point things
it's
will come
paused.
back.
It's
paused. And the savings or
Yeah.
whatever, the pain we've gone through for the last few months,
Yeah.
eventually sometime it will take a while, but
Yeah.
that will come back.
But I also feel, and again, I have to commend you because your team stood by you. You stood by them. So I don't think you. Not only it pause, it's not just pause for you. I actually think you've gone to another level with your team.
You sound like
Yeah.
you got out in front of it though, which is the
He
most
did.
important thing.
He
yeah.
did.
Oh, yeah,
And-
we-
and-
I-
and-
I
You didn't do the
so-
ostrich
and
in there.
so
Sand.
much, so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
respect for that
Yeah.
because kept his team for as long as he could, and
We still
then
kept
when
everybody.
kept everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's on. Sent them back home,
Yep.
and every single one of them kept working with them.
But you know what the interesting thing is? People don't blame you for the
No.
for the pandemic.
But
and
that's because
the
of
thing.
the way
That's
he
been the
handled
real
it.
interesting point
Yeah.
of
But
it.
that's because of the way he handled
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. Whereas if you just blame the pandemic and treated them like crap,
Yeah.
guess what? They'll blame you.
Oh, of course.
Whereas if you say, look, guys, I'm trying my best, I'm going to try,
Yeah. Yeah.
they know that there's a bigger thing
Yeah.
than what's happening with you.
I think that's been the real interesting point. Like
Yeah.
previously, with financial, I guess, situations, or you sometimes you have like periods of the year where you don't actually have much business, and you start
Yeah.
thinking, oh, cash flow's a bit tight,
Yeah.
and you feel genuinely bad. But I can honestly say, in this situation, like, there's nothing more you can do.
No.
The
Yeah.
only thing you can do is, be empathetic. You can try your best.
That's right.
You can get up every single day and just keep on moving.
and as the owner,
100%.
hustle
Hustle.
your brains out.
The
Instead of
hustle.
going to a brunch,
The hustle is
instead of going to a brunch on a Friday,
You're looking at Dan Hustle
The
Bolton.
hustle is
The
strong.
hustle is
Yeah.
real strong.
yeah,
with
there's a
this
stone
one.
there, turn it.
Yeah,
And I think
for
that's
sure.
people have got out of their comfort zone now, which is good.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
realised that business was a bit easy pre-COVID.
Oh, some of us were coasting.
Yeah.
We was like, even personally, we were just like, going
You
through the
wake up, business
motions.
comes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Thank you so much.
On that note, thank
Thanks,
you so
guys.
much for coming in, Brett.
That was a
Pleasure.
great
But
chat.
we're going to
Like, I
get
feel
you.
like I
We're going
learned
to
a
get you
lot.
in again.
Yeah,
We're gonna-
no, I always happy to
that
chat,
We'll
you
sit
know.
down and do what other topics we need to learn about. And bring Brett in.
You could go in 1,000 different directions. I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I think the biggest thing is the sooner you take action, the sooner you own up to what's going on, the sooner you manage it.
Yeah.
It's amazing that mental stress that just suddenly
Oh, yeah.
drops off your shoulders.
Oh, for sure.
And then you can focus on everything else.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, people just push this and push it down, suppress it.
You can't
and if you
suppress
do it,
this.
you're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, I guess I'll be speaking to you tomorrow about what my next step is then.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks so much
Nice.
for
Thank
coming
you
in,
so
Brett.
much. It was amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
cheers.